Hey there, Cosmic Warriors, and welcome back to another video. And if you are new here, my name is Hannah. I am a Western Practical Astrologer. Welcome. We're here today with a very exciting video. We're going to be talking about Gemini season. Yes, we're still in Taurus season, but I wanted to get this video up nice and early to properly prepare you for Gemini season. It is going to be the season, let me just say. We're going to be experiencing a Mercury-Jupiter conjunction in Gemini, as well as a Venus-Cassimi in Gemini on the same day. Yes. So get excited. I hope you're looking forward to it. I cannot wait to share this information with you all. I can't wait to go over your horoscopes. Hello to you, Cole. Welcome. How are you doing today? I hope you're doing well. Now, before I dive into this information, I have a really exciting announcement. So I did it. I started a podcast. Okay. Something that I have thought about for a long time. And in the trailer episode, you'll be able to hear my kind of story behind it, behind the reasoning, okay, everything. Yeah, it is called the Cosmic Check-In Podcast. You can find the link in the description. But it's just going to be a really laid-back, easygoing podcast. And I just cannot wait to share my thoughts and my feelings about astrology over there. So if you're interested, you can find the link below and you can just go to Spotify and type in Cosmic Check-In Podcast. Right. So, oh, cool. You say you've got a Gemini sun and a Cancer moon. So your season is coming. And on that note, let's present this information. Gemini season 2024. Happy birthday to all of you solar Gemini out there. I hope you have the best season, the best birthday. We gotta love this in-between season, right? The in-between season of spring coming into summer in the Northern Hemisphere. And just to also remind you then of my astrology products, which you can find by going to hannahselsewhere.com, right? They're all there, all available. You can also book a reading with me over there. And I want to say thank you so much to my patrons over at Patreon for all of your support. If you're interested in gaining access to new videos early, ad-free, which too are available right now, you can join the Patreon, as well as gaining access to daily forecasts and PDF guides. Thank you so much to my patrons for all of your support. I am forever thankful. All right, here is the season of change, the season of versatility, the season of being flexible, right? Gemini season is a transitional season. As I was just saying, right, we go from spring into summer, or from autumn into winter, right, in the Southern Hemisphere. So here are some important key dates. The season will begin from the 20th of May this year. And then, boom, we've got a full moon in Sagittarius happening. Then we have, very exciting things. We've got Venus entering Gemini. We've got Jupiter entering Gemini, right? So the two benefics, they're on the move. They're going into Gemini. And then, of course, as I was saying a moment ago, we're going to have this Mercury-Jupiter conjunction, as well as the Venus-Cassimi. So this is when the Sun and Venus are conjunct. Oh, it's all happening. Then Mercury, of course, is going to enter Gemini. So coming into June, we're going to experience these conjunctions. I believe it's going to happen. Well, both of the conjunctions are going to happen on the 4th of June. And then just a couple of days after that, a new moon in Gemini. So yes, very fascinating to think that the new moon in Gemini, it will be comprised of a stellium in this sign. So kind of similar to what we experienced with the new moon in Taurus, right? With the Taurus stellium, we're going to have this stellium, this cluster of planets in Gemini. So it's really important then to look at your Gemini Sagittarius axis, right? Because we're going to have the full moon in Sagittarius, and we're also going to have all of these planets gathering into the sign of Gemini. So yeah, from around the 20th of May coming into June, a lot of activity happening in those houses for you, especially, if you've got Gemini placements. Shout out to Jasmina, one of my favorite Gemini. out there. So yeah, you got to really think about any Gemini placements and how they're going to be activated. Now, also, Mars is going to be on the move. So Mars is going to enter Taurus from the 9th of June. And then, oh, looky here. On the 17th of June, right? So just a couple of hours apart, by the way, Venus is going to enter Cancer. And then just a couple hours later, Mercury is going to follow suit and enter Cancer. So we're going to be exiting Gemini season with these planets on the move. So yeah, we're going to really transition into Cancer season. The summer solstice is coming. It's coming. I can't believe it. I'm like, no, I don't want the summer solstice to come, because that reminds me that that's the longest day of the year. And then from there, it's just going to get shorter and shorter and shorter again. I'm like, no, I'm not ready for this, right? I'm not ready. Anyway, Cancer season will be up ahead soon. And then we have Vesta, right? So the asteroid Vesta is going to be on the move, entering Leo on the 19th of June. So closing the season with that transition. So let's break this down briefly before we get into your horoscopes. Gemini season, right? So we go from this practical way of doing things, practical strategies, and stability, to then exploring new options, new possibilities. Gemini is a very flexible sign, right? So we're going from being physically consistent and holding and supportive to being flexible and versatile and kind of, being curious. Do I like that? That's interesting. And that will further be heightened by Jupiter entering Gemini as well, just a couple of days later. We also go from shining a light on our self-worth, on our comforts and our materials, right? Very Taurus themes. I've enjoyed Taurus season for the steadiness, for greater relaxation, greater ease, paying attention to my body sensations. Yes. So we go from all of this to the mental stimulation, right? From the body to the mind, right? We go to curiosity. It's more about that desire to want to learn something new. What catches your eye? Sort of Gemini is like the magpie of the Zodiac. The magpie, just getting into things and being very curious. Now, there's a couple of aspects that I just wanted to mention. So with Gemini season this year, the Sun will square Saturn and it will square Neptune. So there could be some tension, some conflict with respect to our intuition, our feelings, our inner world. And then also the Sun will sextile the North Node and Mercury. So, coming in here, it could be that there is something quite exciting, actually, right? Something quite exciting up ahead as well with the North Node. My apologies. Scrap Mercury, just the North Node. Okay, Mercury's actually going to be entering Taurus by the 15th of May. So my mistake there. But yes, with the North Node sextile to the Sun, that could be very exciting in terms of our destiny. So I like to keep the aspects a little bit brief because I do go into more detail over at the daily forecast, just to let you know. So if you want more detailed versions, more thorough versions, you can find them over at my Patreon. Right. So we have the full moon in Sagittarius, and that is going to happen on the 23rd of May, and it's going to happen at 2 degrees. So the number 2 in numerology, number 2 is very much about companionship, loyalty, assistance. And the really special thing actually about the full moon in Sagittarius is how Jupiter, which is the dispositor of the full moon, Jupiter is going to be at 29 degrees, conjunct Venus in Taurus at 29 degrees. So The full moon in Sagittarius is really like a closing of a chapter. There's something very significant about the ending stages and how those ending stages relate to our financial position, our materials, our stability, these Taurian themes. And then also Mercury, which Mercury will be the dispositor of the sun. So the sun will be in Gemini, moon will be in Sagittarius. That will sextile Saturn. So there's also going to be an ability to be somewhat mindful, to focus, to concentrate a little bit there. There can be a greater sense of stability in that way and discipline as well. And then we also notice with the full moon, being in Sagittarius, full moons are so much about resets and things being really shown right to us, right? It's like, look at this shining, there's this light because, the moon is full and it's that Gemini energy, the sun that will be shining its light on the moon. So bigger picture, wider visions are going to come up and it's like, okay, well, anything I want to change, redirecting, yeah, it could be that we take a moment to analyze where we are so far then within our Sagittarius house, and is there anything we wish to let go of? Any aspirations, this is definitely going to be an aspirational full moon. It's going to be a full moon that's going to remind us of our optimism, hope, positivity, freedom, and exploration rewards are very likely. So we're going to, of course, talk more in detail about this in the full moon and Sagittarius video. So just to say that, but just to keep it brief, morality and guidance, this could be a release point then for these things as well. If it is, for example, that you feel like maybe you're not quite aligned with your moral compass, this could be a good way to sort of correct that or to make sense of that, to change then. And then it's also about clarity, right? Clarity about higher learning and higher education. So Venus then is going to enter Gemini on the 23rd of May and will be there until the 17th of June. So, whoa, we have Venus in Gemini for most of Gemini season. So this could look like, for example, you coming up with new ways of making money. This is very significant actually, because when we think about how, as I was saying a moment ago, Jupiter and Venus will be at 29 degrees during the full moon in Sagittarius. So a lot will come to light, right? So much will be illuminated, so there'll be great clarity, all of those things to do with the full moon in Sagittarius. So then it almost seems like just a couple days after, Venus will enter Gemini, and then we'll see. Well, not even a couple of days, but a matter of hours there. Let me just double check the actual date again of the full moon. May. Yeah, a couple of hours. Okay, yeah, so it's on the same day, but a couple of hours later. Okay, so yeah, so much clarity will come up, and then Venus will enter Gemini, and then it's almost like we can take the information that comes to light during the full moon, and we can then start to play around with it, right? We can then start to be flexible. We can consider, what are my options here? So yes, new ways, new avenues, very exciting. Oh my gosh, how fun. Also, we can learn from people. We can learn from the people we relate to whilst Venus is in Gemini. We can value variety and flexibility. We can be curious, right? We can be very curious. We can enjoy learning, right? People who have Venus in Gemini, they genuinely enjoy learning. I mean, my partner has Venus in Gemini and he paints, and just the amount of learning that goes into that, and he genuinely enjoys it. I love that he has that as a hobby, and he's so skilled and talented at it as well. Also, intellectual gifts and skills could very well come up. And you may even seek to add to your communicative, intellectual, educational sort of skills and gifts there. Plus, we can use our wit and our humor to get close to people, right? We can really engage in this fun way. Now, just a couple of things then about these the aspects. The Venus Cassimi is coming on the 4th of June, right? So the Sun and Venus are going to be the same degree. So that's going to be quite significant because that Venus Cassimi is going to act as this renewal, right? This value-related renewal, this relationship-related renewal within our Gemini house. So thinking about how these things then are associated with our mind, with our intellect, with how we learn, how we engage with others. And this is also going to be a part of like a bigger story as well. If we think about the cycle, the relationship between Venus and the Sun. And then we also notice that Venus will start to square Saturn and Neptune during its stay in Gemini. So that could be a good opportunity to really think about the seriousness and the long term with regard to our relationships there, but also to address any sort of misconceptions or disillusionments. And then Venus too will sextile the North Node and Chiron. So yes, a great deal of healing there, and also thinking about how our relationships can support our destiny too. Hello to another somebody. And hello to Alexander, welcome. I hope you are doing good today. Radio, so we have Jupiter, big Jupiter entering Gemini on the 25th of May until June 2025. Right, so I have made a video about Jupiter in Gemini, so you can check that out for just more, more detail. We love the details here. And for separate sort of horoscopes related to that specific transit. But here we go. Jupiter in Gemini, some pointers. Larger than life ideas. You're going to have huge ideas. Networking with many people, socializing, getting out there. The expansion of our minds, possibly traveling to network, to socialize, to share, teaching, advertising, marketing ourselves. Social media could very well be heightened, or the attention that we receive on social media could be heightened. Getting our message out there with the world, broadcasting, publishing, finding humor in what we say, and trying not to take ourselves super seriously. Duality will be a big theme. So looking at our many decisions and choices, it's like, oh, do I choose A? Do I choose B? Which one's right for me? Right? So there's going to be a lot of options, maybe too many. I just want to say that we may want to try on different hats. I like to think of Gemini as the juggler, right? The Gemini is the juggler of the Zodiac, juggling the two balls, right? But then you add another ball, and then another ball, and then another ball. Can they keep them up? Can they keep them up? Or will one fall off? I also think about the Two of Pentacles card, right? The Two of Pentacles card, and he's balancing these two coins, and he's like, woo, it's like being at the circus. So you might get dizzy. You might get dizzy during this transit, but it's all in good fun. Hey, if there's anything I can recommend to help with this transit, with Jupiter entering Gemini for the next year, laugh it off. It's not that serious. It's really not that serious. That is what Gemini is here to say. It's like, oh, yeah, fleeting comment, blah, who cares, right? Next. It's that type of energy. So this can be very lighthearted, very fun and playful. Entertain yourself. Just do something that you enjoy, right? In terms of learning, what do you actually enjoy doing there, right? I know for me, right, I was saying at the very beginning about finally starting a podcast, but I don't want to go into this podcast being so structured, like I need to do this and I'm putting on this pressure and the expectations. I'm like, no, I want to have fun. I want to have fun. And this is what Jupiter and Gemini is going to help us with. And then lastly, well, a couple of things. Teachings of our light and dark sides, right? And if kind of being able to integrate both. Gemini teaches us that life it's not black and white. Well, it's also about looking at the polarities of life, I guess, but it's also about how they sort of relate, how they correspond. It's not about just leaning toward one way and just completely neglecting the opposite side or the opposite view. Gemini says, no, welcome other opinions, welcome other perspectives. Hey, welcome other parts of yourself that perhaps you've buried, that you're not aware of, right? The unconscious, right? Those unconscious layers, and being able to bring them to light, but to do so in a way where, again, it doesn't have to be so serious. And then lastly, Gemini philosophies. Maybe try to use Jupiter and Gemini as a time to explore, what are certain philosophies that may sort of relate to the sign of Gemini? What are people saying out there? And there were a couple that I Googled recently. I cannot remember off the top of my head what they were, but maybe even just try Googling, what I Googled was philosophies to do with not taking life so seriously. And there were a few that came up. So you can maybe even play around with this and try to maybe establish a certain philosophy for yourself, which is very Gemini. Woo, right? Hello, Alexander. It's going to be your Jupiter return. Oh, Jupiter return. Awesome. Fun. And hello, Eddie. Hi to you. Welcome. You say that you love philosophy. Awesome. Okay. Now, Mercury then is also going to enter Gemini. This is what I love about Mercury and Gemini. There is no such thing as a stupid question. Ask questions. It doesn't matter what the question is, just ask it. You may be thinking, I don't know, I don't want to look like an idiot, I don't want to look stupid. No, it doesn't matter. If anything, to ask is just the best thing, because you're going to learn so much. So I think with Jupiter and Mercury going to form that conjunction, that is going to usher in a really interesting cycle, right? A new cycle. So let me see here. This new cycle is going to be about 12 to 14 months or so. And then this cycle is going to be so much about variety and curiosity. We're going to seek to grow intellectually, and we're going to want to share our bigger visions and our ideas with the world, right? Considering how Mercury and Jupiter are going to merge together, we may also be witty, entertaining, and rather over the top with our words too. Perhaps we say the thing that has been on our minds, or even on the minds of everybody else around us. Gemini has this way of saying what everybody else was thinking. It's that thing of, is it White Chicks, the movie White Chicks? And they're like, but you were thinking it. It goes, but you said it. It's like, that's Gemini. Everybody else is thinking that thing, and then Gemini just says the thing, and everyone else is like, oh, how could you say that? And then Gemini goes, but you were definitely thinking it though, so I did you a favor. That's the energy. That is the energy, people. It's just having the audacity, right? It's just having the audacity to come out with it, to say the thing. And our words can be larger than life, very inspirational. This could be such a fun time to inspire people with our words, to encourage people with our words. Hey, to inspire ourselves, We could very well be remembered for our impact, right? The impact that our words have, which, to be fair, that is maybe something to just be cautious of, because it is maybe also recognizing that our words can carry a lot. Uh, what we say can often be very impactful in terms of how other people receive that, and are sort of, so other people's views of us could very well change depending on what we say. But this is still about victory. This is about being glorious, praise as well. Seeing the brighter side of things. I am for this. I am for this energy. And we might want a lot of this and a lot of that, right? We were saying about option A or option B. The Jupiter in Gemini could very well be about, I want both, but I want a lot of both. Okay, is it that saying you want your cake, you have your cake and eat it too? Is that the saying? is that the one that fits in with that? Yeah, but still, be cautious of biting off more than you can chew. Be cautious of that. However, we will tend to be a lot more optimistic, hopeful, and uplifting. So it's this attitude that we will have. And we may also recognize that how we speak to ourselves is so important. Yes, so these are just a few things that I want you to keep in mind in terms of the Jupiter Mercury conjunction, which is going to be coming, and how that will usher in a new cycle. Now, with Mercury also being in Gemini, it's a good opportunity to play around with ideas, get creative. I mean, Gemini are some of the most creative people. And the beautiful thing about it is that Gemini's smart, but they also, as I was saying, they can be quite like creative in terms of playful, right? They have that playfulness, that childlikeness, but also that matter of fact quality, that factual quality, the logic and the reason as well. I'm even just thinking about my partner who has so much Gemini. And that, with Gemini, it's always the thing of, you are in a relationship not just with one person, but you're in a relationship with two people or with many people, just depending on the sides of the Gemini. And I'm really thinking about my partner's more serious side versus my partner's more sort of childlike, playful side. But yes, Mercury and Gemini could very well help us invite both or many sides out to play. We could also switch up our forms of communicating, switching that up, different ways of doing it. And we can learn something new. We could research a new topic or subject, or we could add to that because of a new idea. Yes. And still also logical thinking, humor, and wit. Now, Mercury will be in Gemini from the 3rd of June until the 17th of June. And like I was saying, there's that conjunction with Jupiter. Plus, there will be that sextile to Aries and the square to Pisces. So instead of just kind of going over the same sort of themes, I'm just putting those aspects at the bottom. But just to clarify, aspects are talked about in more detail over at my Patreon through the daily forecasts. So if you want more information, you can head on over to Patreon. Thank you. Now, the new moon then. So the new moon in Gemini is going to happen, and it's going to happen on the 6th of June. It's going to occur at 16 degrees, so equivalating to the number 7 in numerology. The number 7 is very spiritual, wise, it's a teacher, it's a truth seeker. And the new moon is actually going to happen at the same degree as Venus. We've got some pretty fun and attractive and perhaps pleasing moons up ahead, right? We've got the full moon in Sagittarius, which will involve Jupiter and Venus at the same degree, right? With Jupiter being the dispositor. And then here we have the new moon in Gemini with Venus being right there with it. So, How interesting, how exciting. Plus Mercury will be home, right? The dispositor of the new moon. So it's going to be home in Gemini. Oh, I cannot wait to talk about these in more detail over the next coming weeks. But yes, full moon and then the new moon during Gemini season. It's going to be fun. It is going to be fun. Still, the new moon could very well indicate that of chat, network, and education seeds, right? Planting those seeds. New beginnings to do with versatility, fresh starts about investigation, and showing initiation to do with communication, right? Taking the initiative. Oh, Alexander, you said about Japan, Portugal, and France. Travel. It would be so fun to travel. Yeah. Now, Mars is going to enter Taurus from the 9th of June up until the 20th of July. And then, of course, Mars will score Pluto retrograde on first arrival. So, yes, just wanted to say that. Now, what this can indicate is when it comes to initiating, when it comes to asserting ourselves, right? Mars, how we assert ourselves, it will be important for us to make a plan. And it's so fascinating because if you think about it, right, you think about the path of Jupiter and Venus and Mercury, right? We have the new moon in Taurus, we had Jupiter and Uranus, the conjunction, all these planets in Taurus, and they've been slowly, gradually moving through this sign. And then we've got Mars following after. So going along that same path, and Mars is sort of like, okay, well, what did I learn? What did I learn from Jupiter and Taurus? What am I still learning with Uranus there in Taurus in these houses? Okay, well, I can see what I've learned. Now it's time to build practically. But now it's time to consider how I can plan then thoroughly. To be intentional, to be methodical, to take our time again, to slow down, which I gotta love that about Taurus. I enjoy that about Taurus season. Certainly, it's the ability to bring awareness to the body and to slow it down when need be. To be patient as well when it comes to conflict. That is certainly an option with Mars being in Taurus. And we could be active about our pleasures, our desires. We could also possess pretty strong sensual urges as Mars travels through Taurus, and then also this steady endurance. There will be a steady endurance to help us win. Slow and steady wins the race, says Taurus. Right. Now, with that, coming more toward the end of Gemini season, Venus is on the move and so is Mercury. So we've got both Venus and Mercury entering Cancer on the 17th of June. Firstly, Venus. So we're going to be focusing more on, okay, time to empathize with those we love, caregiving energy, supportive energy within our Cancer house. This could be preparing a nice meal, spending time with our loved ones, having an emotional heart-to-heart, right? Touch and affection. Just, showing people that we really, really care about them, our loved ones. But at the same time, some tough love. Bit of tough love with Venus in Cancer. Even being very protective too. And then throughout Venus's stay, Venus will sextile Mars in Taurus, so that's going to be especially essential. Oh, love it. And Venus will also square the Aries planets, so there could be some friction there. And then also Venus will trine Saturn. So a deeply compassionate aspect indeed, which again, we will explore more over at Patreon. And then we have Mercury entering Cancer, again, from the 17th of June. So that will be up until the 2nd of July. And with Venus as well coming into July, I believe it was the 11th of July there. Okay, so with Mercury It's interesting to think about this actually, because with it being Gemini season, we notice that for a lot of Gemini season, Mercury will be home in Gemini, but then Mercury will enter Cancer, and then Mercury is the dispositor of the season. So what we're going to kind of notice then coming toward the end of Gemini season is that, well, communication could be more so based on our emotions. When speaking, we may consider other people's feelings. Our intuition could be heightened. We may be able to read the vibes more, be able to sense things more, communicating with care and warmth as well. And we may also decide, right, deciding what you want to keep private, your inner security. Yes, I certainly notice this with people who have Mercury in Cancer. They know what they would like to keep private, right? Their personal privacy means a lot to them. And then lastly, saying how you feel and perhaps giving some motherly advice or supportive advice. Now, Mercury will also then sextile Mars and then do the whole same thing that I was just saying as Venus. So once more, we will explore those aspects, but those are just a couple of aspects to inform you about. And lastly here, we've got Vesta. Vesta's on the move, right? We've got this asteroid shift. Vesta is going to enter Leo from the 19th of June. So closing the season, we've got this asteroid shift from the 19th of June until the 24th of August. Vesta is so much about our eternal flame, keeping it alive, keeping it safe and protected. So with that, our eternal flame will be that of creativity, art, play, entertainment, romance, love, loyalty. We will want to protect our creative spirit. We may also dedicate ourselves to matters of the heart. Show devotion, right? Devotion to that of the heart, or devotion to that of even our inner child, right? Some creative work and efforts there. And there could also be a great focus on our asexual expression there with Vesta entering Leo. So it's certainly going to be a passionate time there for Vesta. Right, so that is the general sort of overview of Gemini season, just looking at those major shifts. And here is a list of all of the significant major aspects. And the only ones that have not been included there are the ones to the North Node. So just again, to let you know that when exploring these aspects, I talk about them in detail over at my Patreon via daily forecasts, and that's a great way to keep up to date. Right, so let's now continue on and let's explore your horoscopes for Gemini season. Thank you for being here, everyone. Okay. Firstly, then, we've got you, Aries. Aries. Right. So, for you, Aries, with the sun entering Gemini, right? So, throughout Gemini season, this means that your third house is going to be very much lit up, right? So where you may find just the most life force, or you may feel really good whenever you are educating yourself. Gemini season is a great season for Aries to do research, to investigate, and to also play around with new ideas, new visions, new ways of seeing things. So that could be really exciting for you. And there could also just be more of a chatty feel to Gemini season for you, right? Maybe wanting to get out into your local area, your local neighborhood, right? And to be somewhat more curious or inquisitive. Now, for the first 2 weeks of Gemini season, Venus and Jupiter are finishing up in your second house, right? So as Venus and Jupiter are finishing up in Taurus in your second house, it's perhaps a good idea to reflect, right? To consider the lessons that Jupiter in Taurus has taught you this past year. So I'm talking about lessons related to patience, for example. Patience and how that is tied to your stability and your security. And also thinking about consistency. How consistent have you been, and have you been able to value consistency here over the last year? And perhaps you'll even be rewarded with something that is rather consistent, right? A sort of consistent financial opportunity or something just prosperous, something fruitful. But it's fruitful because you've already put in the work, Aries. You've already put in that time and that effort. So still, take some time just to reflect, contemplate, think about what have you learned throughout this past year. Again, related to things like your physical security, your money, your earnings, all of that stuff. Now, Mars will also conjunct Chiron in Aries, so in your sign. So we're thinking about the first 2 weeks of Gemini season here. So that could be quite eye-opening for you in terms of you showing bravery and courage when it comes to addressing an identity wound. So that could be very healing for you. And then I also want to mention that Mercury in Taurus will conjunct Uranus. So again, thinking about the first 2 weeks of Gemini season. So we think here about, right, those lessons to do with Jupiter, and then Mercury will conjunct Uranus. So there could be an opportunity to grow, to change, to progress, right? There's something progressive coming up. And I think that progressiveness, that ability to change, or even that freeing quality, those things are tied to your wisdom, the wisdom that has been gained, the knowledge that has been gained, and how that knowledge then again, it goes back to your materials, your finances, your earnings, this stuff. Then of course Jupiter will enter Gemini, right? So Jupiter is gonna enter Gemini, and there is a video available about this transit, the year-long transit, which I'll link it in the description below, but you can find it over on YouTube if you're watching this now, and then maybe you want to go along after or whatever, but there is a video there. Now, coming into the third week, so by the third week, so we're thinking about from the 3rd of June onwards, Mercury then will have entered Gemini. There will be the conjunction with Jupiter, plus the Venus Cassimi. So that Venus Cassimi is going to be that Sun-Venus conjunction in Gemini. So what we see here is a new 12 to 14 month cycle being ushered in for you when it comes to the learning stuff, the educating stuff, the communication stuff as well, right? So a new cycle. But that new cycle then is so much about, okay, wider visions, bigger ideas, exploration, broadening your view, wanting to know more, expanding your horizons when it comes to learning in this way, right? So much growth there. And then the Venus Cassimi, that is going to be a good opportunity for you to release. There's going to be a renewal, a release. Maybe that release is tied to your self-worth and how that is connected to your voice. It's connected to logic. It's connected to reason and communication, these sort of areas for you, Aries. Maybe a lot of that is even to do with self-love, recognition, seeing how much you've grown, seeing how much you've changed as a person intellectually. And even just with so much Gemini energy in the third house, it's safe to say that Gemini season is going to be huge for you intellectually, right? Now, by the 9th of June, Mars will enter Taurus. So that's going to happen in your second house. So from the 9th of June for the rest of Gemini season, this will be an opportunity for you to go, right, Mars is my chart ruler. I am going to take those possession, material lessons I have learned, right? So this is why it's important to do that reflection, right? As I was saying earlier, with Jupiter leaving, Venus leaving, do the reflection, because then when your chart ruler comes in from the 9th of June, it's go time, it's motion, it's right. These are the lessons I've learned about consistency and patience and taking my time. Now it's time to initiate, but with that plan in mind, with my self-worth heightened, feeling more secure from within myself. Of course, Mars will square Pluto retrograde coming into this transit. So we're looking here around about the 10th, 11th of June, about that time. So with the square, try and not give into sort of worrying about what other people are doing, right? Worrying about, people within networks and teams and groups, and maybe even power struggles, power plays, these dynamics, power dynamics, this type of stuff. Try and just not sort of be impulsive or destructive, try and not give into any self-sabotage tendencies, okay? Just be wary of that. And then we close Gemini season. So by the 4th week, we have here Venus and Mercury entering your 4th house. So this I think is actually, it's quite nice. I like this for you, Aries, even though I know Cancer can be quite a challenging energy for you, with squaring you in the Zodiac. But I think from the 17th of June, closing Gemini season, that's going to usher in just some time to settle into you, right? It's just like, hey, you know what? A lot has been happening for you, especially, let's think about it like this, Aries. Your season, right? Just last season, we had the solar eclipse in your sign. Oh my gosh, energetically wiped. Whew, just like exhausted. Let's think about that. But then let's also think about the excitement that all brought too, right? The exciting new chapters and new beginnings and everything. But then feeling even just energetically like all over the place, because at the same time there was a Mercury retrograde happening in your sign as well. So there was a lot that was being reassessed and revisited. So it's safe to say a lot of activity has been happening. So I think by the time we come toward the end of Gemini season, this will be a good opportunity with Mercury and Venus entering Cancer for you to really settle into greater emotional security, right? Feeling just more like at ease, to be able to go within, to spend time with family, to be in privacy, just even thinking about cooking or baking or just doing things to comfort yourself. Just those nice things for yourself, doing something that's nice for you, to be kind to yourself, to be protective of your energy as well, to be protective of your space. So yes, closing Gemini season for you, Aries, I think is just more about, okay, time to be alone, or time to spend time with my loved ones, with those that I cherish the most. Right. So we move on to Taurus. Now, before I get into Taurus, I just want to say, when looking at the new moon and the full moon, they will have their own separate videos, okay? They will have their own separate videos. And to remind you, when it comes to the aspects, I will talk more in detail about the aspects over on Patreon. Okay, so Taurus. Okay. Thank you for being here, by the way, everyone. I appreciate you for viewing. Taurus. Right. Gemini season for you. Ooh. All right. So a lot of second house activations for you, Taurus. Of course, this is very much your domain in this regard. So coming into Gemini season, the light is then being really focused on your materials, your resources, your belongings, and your assets, your gains, your personal gains, but also your personal worth. But with this being Gemini, there's something changeable being presented, whether this be new sort of ways of earning money, right? New streams of income, whether this be you learning something new, right? A new skill, a new sort of talent to even enhance your talents. So there could be that. Yeah, there could just be something more flexible and curious as well about the ways in which you earn. And we also want to think then about how Jupiter and Venus are finishing up in your sign. So we're coming into the first 2 weeks, right? We're focusing on the first 2 weeks of Gemini season to begin with. So yes, the sun will enter Gemini, shining a light on the second house for you. And then with Jupiter and Venus finishing up in your sign, great time to reflect, Taurus. Great time. Oh my gosh. I feel like Taurus is a sign that needs a round of applause because my goodness, I feel very proud of this sign. Like, just so proud of the growth, the progression, those changes. Because hey, Taurus, you're a sign that can become stagnant and stuck, right? You're a sign that you find it hard to sort of really get out of your comfort zone. You need to be pushed, right? You need to just be pushed or forced in a lot of ways to move. But I guess there also has to be an incentive. There has to be something in it. It's like, why would I do that? Anyway. But the reason why I'm just saying, that I want to give recognition to you is because you typically are that sign that is just so slow to change and slow to move. But it seems like Jupiter being in your sign for the past year has really, it's really helped you in a way step outside of your comfort zone, right? To follow a path that maybe hasn't been followed before, to do something so completely different to what you're used to. And that, I feel, within itself is so brave and courageous. But still, with Venus and Jupiter being at the very end of your sign, coming into the first 2 weeks of Gemini season, just take some time to reflect, right? Think about, oh my gosh, my identity has completely changed. The way I see the world, my aims, my goals, just sudden changes have been happening. And different aspirations have come to the forefront of your mind. It's just remarkable, I think, in terms of that progression. It's almost like when you look back on the past year, you don't recognize who that person is. It's just so different to who you are today. So if anything, I think with coming to the end of Jupiter in Taurus, with 29 degrees, the anaretic degree, with Venus also a part of it, Venus is home in Taurus, that is such a good opportunity for you, and even just for all signs in their own way, to have that moment of recognition, right? Self-recognition. that self-love moment, perhaps, based on the wisdom and the knowledge from the past year within your Taurus house. Okay, so what will then happen is Mercury will enter Taurus, so your sign. Sorry, not Mercury won't enter Taurus. Sorry, Mercury will be in Taurus. My mistake. Mercury will be in Taurus in your sign, and then it will conjunct Uranus. Right. So that will be a good opportunity then. So coming away from, all right, you've done a lot of contemplation with Jupiter in Taurus, and then we've got this conjunction happening with Uranus. So even more exciting times for you, Taurus. It's so interesting, of course, because even, Mercury is the ruler of your second house. So we see here a change of landscape, right? There's something about the environment that's changing for many Taurians, the working landscape, the ways in which you earn money, the value that you place upon certain things, and even how such matters are tied to your overall sort of worldview, right? So, yeah, there could be some radical change there. Something perhaps exciting. Now, Mars will also conjunct Chiron and Aries. So again, we're thinking about the first 2 weeks of Gemini season. So that's going to happen in your 12th house. Mars transiting your 12th house, Taurus. I just think it has been a good opportunity for you to try and rest and try to relax as much as possible, and to even be able to do a good, honest review, right? Perform a good, honest review of your energy levels and your aims, your goals, right? What you want. And then with the conjunction to Chiron, that can be quite a healing experience. Maybe that healing comes through something spiritual. Now, by the third week, right, so we have, of course, Jupiter will have entered Gemini by the 25th of May. There's a video all about it if you want to get, your horoscopes for your sign there. But by the third week, we've got Mercury in Gemini conjunct Jupiter. And then we also have the Venus Cassimi. So what we see up ahead for you, Taurus, is the start of a new cycle here to do with money, earnings, materials, this stuff. A new cycle to do with your self-worth, your skills. So that is going to be a cycle which will last for about 12 to 14 months or so there, with Mercury and Jupiter as a part of it. But it's that sort of larger than life attitude, something positive, perhaps, something very hopeful. And here's the other thing about it for you, Taurus. Venus, which is your chart ruler, that will conjunct the sun. So there's going to be a Venus Cassimi as well in the second house for you. Oh my gosh, people's Gemini houses this Gemini season are just going to be lit up, and it's like, wow. Anyway, for you, this Venus Cassimi is going to happen, and that's going to be a good time to shed, right? To release. There's going to be a renewal, a self-worth renewal. But you see, a lot of this self-worth for you, Taurus, has to do with the mind. It's how you think about yourself. It's how you communicate feelings of worthiness, if you will. It's how you really, how you speak to yourself. And maybe more than most, Taurus, that how you speak to yourself matters. It matters a great deal. So here we notice then the wisdom and the knowledge that can be gained from these understandings. And possibly as well, we think here about a opportunity, right? A material opportunity, a work opportunity, something even being presented to you. You're receiving a gift, you're receiving some type of blessing, feeling really blessed, feeling gifted in this way, especially with Jupiter in the second house for you. Now, by the 9th of June, Mars will enter your sign. So all of the, the lessons to do with Jupiter in your sign that we previously mentioned, here comes Mars, and it says, okay, It's time to initiate, but to initiate with a plan in mind. To go and move steadily, slowly, methodically, and to recognize how these movements of yours are going to be so much about your aims and your ambitions, thinking about your future, what you're building for the future, Taurus. Ooh. Then we also notice that there will be the square to Pluto, so there could be some friction and tension there. What I would even say with this one is possible power dynamics with members of authority. What I'm going to suggest, because Pluto, of course, will be retrograde, if there is any big significant new shifts to do with work or to do with your career path, these areas, money, right? These very sort of practical things, make sure that you have all of the information that you need, basically, Taurus. Have that conversation with the boss, have that conversation with the manager. Be very clear. Be very clear about your intentions. Be very clear about the intentions of others and their motives as well. Have that. Even have it in writing. Now, coming into the fourth week, then, lastly, we have Venus and Mercury entering Cancer from the 17th of June. So for the rest of Gemini season, of course, Venus, again, is your chart ruler. That will be quite I would say, a cherishing time, right? Wanting to create memories with your siblings, your cousins, to be close with your relatives in this way. Maybe even wanting more family time, right? To be able to do some short distance travel trips with family, and creating memories, right? And even communicating from a place of care and support, maybe even assisting your family and your loved ones, possibly through an emotional time, right? They could be going through something quite emotional, or maybe this is about you, Taurus, having that ability to communicate what your needs are, your emotional needs especially. So there is that. But yes, I think we're going to go from so much of that intellectual energy, which there will still be, but with Cancer, that is going to lean more toward, okay, well, what do you need? Right? Communicating even with third house energy, communicating what you need in order to feel more supported and secure. Right. We move on to Gemini. Let's see. Hello to Linda. Hi, Linda. Welcome to you. I hope you're doing well. Hello to Faten. Faten, I hope I am pronouncing your name correctly. I hope so. I'm sorry if I'm not. Artbay, hello. Hi. Fatma, hello to you. You said Cancer rising here. Okay, great. Okay, thank you for joining, everyone. Yes, so we're moving on to Gemini now. All right, so Gemini. It is your season, Gemini. So happy birthday. Happy birthday to all of you solar Gemini out there. I hope you have the best birthday. So the sun is in your first house, lighting it up. Oh my goodness, Gemini, it's time to come out to play. It is time to grace us with your wit, with your charm, with your humor. It is time to grace us with your facts and with your many words of encouragement and your many words of wisdom. I mean, Jupiter will be in your sign as well. It is time for growth. It is time to expand your mind, Gemini. And possibly it's time to promote yourself in new ways. Possibly traveling could be on the cards, but whatever the case, with sun here, with your season, There's just a lot of focus on your path, your direction, new beginnings, your identity. Feel good energy, Gemini. Now, with the first 2 weeks of your season, we see here that Venus and Jupiter are actually finishing up in your 12th house. So there is still some contemplation. There's still some unfinished business to be done. Behind the scenes, perhaps in solitude, perhaps just, right, alone. When you're alone, just take some time to go over what have you learned, right? What have you learned this past year about worth, about money, about valuables, assets, about your physical security? Have you really taken enough time to rest and relax? It could even be a good opportunity for you to do some healthy escaping, right? To escape for a little bit, enjoy something, that is your favorite, right? A favorite food, a favorite dish or beverage, whatever it is. Still take some time to contemplate. And I think it's the contemplation that it will be so much about your spiritual world and healing, possibly. There's some type of renewal. There's a letting go here too, right? Letting go of an old sort of habit or an old way of doing things, and how such matters are tied to the body, perhaps. And we also notice that Mercury will end up creating a conjunction with Uranus. So we think about how there will be all of these sort of, these lessons to do with Jupiter, and then Mercury comes along and makes that conjunction with Uranus. So this gives a good opportunity to free your mind, to free your thoughts from anything that is confining, anything that is limiting. Perhaps this has been really a good opportunity for you to let go of certain limiting beliefs, actually, Gemini, right? Limiting beliefs to do with your values, with your worth. And then we see here that Mars will conjunct Chiron here in Aries. So again, thinking about the first 2 weeks of Gemini season. So that could be quite eye-opening for you in terms of groups and those collective themes, right? Thinking about the types of people that you run in social circles with, right? So there could be maybe a courageous act on your part, a brave action, or having the audacity to be a pioneer, to be a bit of a trailblazer. But such movements and actions within the group will also help heal the group, or you can provide some type of wisdom or assistance for the group. Okay, so there is a separate video about Jupiter and Gemini, which you can find on my YouTube channel. I am going to link it down below afterwards. But coming into the third week, we have Mercury and Gemini making a conjunction with Jupiter, ushering in a new 12 to 14 month cycle here within your first house. So it's safe to say, Gemini, that you're in for big changes. You're in for big intellectual changes, advertising, marketing, networking changes, socializing changes. And what I mean by changes is it's the growth, really. It's the growth of your networks, the growth of your influence, how you're going to inspire, and the opportunities that are going to come pouring through, really. Now, of course, we do want to think about how Jupiter will continue its path, and there will be squares to Saturn. You got to look at the bigger picture always. But when we look at this new cycle being ushered in, it's just this progression. The amplifying energy to do with your aims and your goals, and how those things are related to what you do best. What you do best. It's just how amazing you are with your words, how articulate you can be. Gemini, you are the sign that can talk You're the sign that can talk yourself in and out of anything, right? You're in trouble. It's like, okay, no problem. Or you want to get involved in something, okay. You just, I don't know. You just have this gift. Is it gift of the gab? Is that the saying? I have so much love and appreciation for Gemini. Maybe that's my Gemini midheaven talking a little bit, because that's sort of what I aspire to be. I aspire to be that articulate, and yeah, so informative. Yeah, indeed, I admire the Gemini energy. Now, Venus will also conjunct the Sun, so there's going to be a Venus Cassimi happening in your sign as well, ushering in, this renewal, a release to do with your self-worth, to do with how your self-worth is tied to your identity. Maybe even letting go of a certain narrative, a certain way of speaking to yourself, possibly, or even looking at how there could be major renewals to do with relationships. So how you relate to others, and thinking even about how you connect in, maybe through business. Some sort of contracts and agreements could very well come up, right? Some new opportunity. So that could be quite fun and exciting for you. Right, so moving on then to the 9th of June. The 9th of June, we've got Mars entering Taurus. So that's going to happen in your 12th house. So we notice here then, whilst there is so much happening out there in the world, right? So many changes, the learning that you're doing, and how that learning and that communicating and the business deals, and how those things are more so about how you really interact with the world around you. I mean, Mercury, which is your chart ruler, it's going to be home in your sign as well. So it's further going to enhance what I'm saying. So whilst all of that is happening out there in the world, there's still something about the inner world. There's still something about your deep unconscious that is trying to communicate to you. Maybe this is suggesting, okay, energy levels, Gemini, energy levels, body sensations. It's fascinating to think about, because with so many Gemini planets, and you can already be like this, you can live in your head, okay? You can get swept away by all of the different thoughts and ideas, right? Ping, 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 ping. It's like is it a ping pong? Is it a ping pong machine? There's just a lot going on. And so that chitter chatter could very well amp up, right? With Jupiter, especially being in your sign. So I think Mars in Taurus, it's actually aiding you. This is how I see it. It's going to aid you in a lot of ways. And maybe that support is going to come via grounding yourself. Grounding yourself. As the mind starts to go boom, 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 it's like, okay, how can I sink in? How can I really sink into the body? And maybe an important way to do that is to either exercise, get out into nature, be around, strong scents, maybe cooking, for example, right? Tap into your senses. Or maybe it's about being able to make intentional decisions, right? Thought out intentional decisions. No, I'm not going to go on my phone after this time. No, I'm not going to go on social media for a while because my brain is fried. Do you ever get that, by the way? I've had that before throughout my life at times, where my brain, I can physically feel my brain is like, it's fuzzy. It's like, ooh, and I can feel it because I've overworked myself. I've been on my phone too long, right? So maybe it's about being able to slow down and bring attention to these things if they do arise. Now, of course, Mars will also square Pluto retrograde, so there will be that square to the 9th house. What I would say about this one is just any self-destructive beliefs, try and not give into those, right? Because the thing with that square to Mars is it can be quite aggressive, right? It's this sort of aggressive, and then with Pluto, it's that obsessive, like, I need to go into that, I need to go, so it's sort of like, breathe. So perhaps such things are also going to be tied to how you relax and rest. Maybe whenever you are trying to relax and rest, this part of you tries to sabotage, and it's like, oh, you need to be doing more. Oh, you need to be doing this. And it's like, no, I don't. So it's just trying not to give in to those self-sabotaging moments if they are to arise. And then lastly, coming into the fourth week of your season, we've got Venus and Mercury entering Cancer in the second house for you. So from the 17th of June onwards. So for the rest of the season, of course, Mercury is your chart ruler. That can be a good way for you to really value your emotions, value greater emotional ease, emotional support, maybe even thinking about just taking a moment to breathe out, and to also consider how you can protect, to protect your energy, to protect your resources, your possessions, and to possibly as well think about how you can communicate what your needs are and how they are related to your materials and your possessions. Naturally, as we do start to come into Cancer season, there's going to be more to this story. But yeah, this is just a way that, we're going to close the season. It's just greater focus on that of your emotional well-being. Okay, so Cancer next. Thank you for being here, everyone. Let's see. Okay. Cancer. All right. So, Gemini season for you, Cancer. We have the sun. We've got the sun shining its light in your 12th house. Oh my gosh. For Cancerians, Gemini season, it's really a good opportunity for you to go within, for you to spend some time in solitude, for you to even educate yourself behind the scenes, which we're going to notice this with Mercury and Jupiter entering Gemini in your 12th. Oh, the amount of investigating that you're going to do on your own, even just drawing from inspiration, and with the light shining on your 12th house, it's going to be a season of dreams, a season of escaping, a season of journaling. It's that kind of just taking some time for you. Kindness, practicing self-compassion, practicing empathy, and to also allow your mind to wander, allowing the mind to wander, and to even just watch those fantasy movies, read those novels, a lot of, reading as a source of being really calm, as a way to be calm and tranquil. Serenity, right? Serenity when we think about the 12th house. Now, with Venus and Jupiter finishing up in your 11th house, Cancer, it seems that for the first 2 weeks of Gemini season, it's a good opportunity for you to reflect on the lessons that Jupiter in Taurus has taught you. And perhaps those lessons are about, okay, if I have a hope or a wish for the future, I need to be steady and consistent as a way to get there. I need to plan. I need to be methodical and thorough. It's that sort of gradual, plodding along energy. And maybe as well, you recognize too that it's about how you feel, in terms of your self-worth, right? Your self-worth is a big part of this. And even as well, how worthy you feel when it comes to groups and clubs that you're a part of, right? How connected do you feel? Do you feel like you're a part of it? Do you feel involved? Do you feel secure? Do you feel safe, right? You're all about this, Cancer. You're all about that emotional security. You know, if you ever can sense that like things are tense or things are sort of, you know, a bit shady or strange, you're like, nope, I'm going into my shell. I am protecting myself. I am protecting myself. I don't have to deal with that drama, right? You can be very protective, people. So yes, consider the lessons that you have learned. And then, of course, Mercury in Taurus will conjunct Uranus. So there could be a new idea, a new way of reinventing yourself here in terms of friendships, communities, teams. You may even find what works for you, what really works for you then when it comes to those spaces, when it comes to organizations and firms that you're a part of, right? What's working and what can you change and how can you progress forward? Mars will also conjunct Chiron, so we're thinking again about the first 2 weeks of Gemini season. So that conjunction to Chiron, I mean, Mars has been transiting your 10th house, so many moves, many big moves, bold, brave, daring moves when it comes to your successes, your achievements, your accomplishments, wanting to be a leader, being a pioneer in a lot of ways, Cancer. You've really stepped up since the North Node has been in Aries since July last year. And so with the conjunction to Chiron, there could be, you know, a sort of an action on your part that shows bravery. It shows the sheer audacity, like, of your of your courage, and how those matters are somehow linked to that of authority, being a professional or being an expert. But it's you that leads by example, I think. This is what it's saying. You're leading by example. And by you doing that, that can be so incredibly healing for you and for others like you, other mentors, other professionals, other experts and bosses, etc. So Jupiter will, of course, enter Gemini. That will transit your 12th house. So there is a video about Jupiter and Gemini. It's a separate video, so make sure to watch that. But by the 3rd week, we have Mercury in Gemini conjunct Jupiter. So ushering in a new cycle within your 12th house, this new 12 to 14th month cycle, to do with solitude, to do with escapism. And I think a lot of this even is about the amount of learning that you're going to do behind the scenes. This is sort of like you're going into your cocoon stage. You're going into your little hiding place, your little hiding place, and you're doing all of your reading, all of your researching, and you don't want to be disturbed, and you just want to be left to your own devices. And that's going to be such a good way for you to enhance your knowledge, to enhance your understanding about information. And then it's fascinating to think how that is going to help you progress further within your chosen field of, so your chosen sort of educational field, I guess you could say. Now, the Venus Cassimi will also happen in your 12th house. So that will be a renewal, right? This renewal, this release to do with your spiritual views, your spiritual practices, even considering how, you know, it's important to, I suppose, embody what it feels like to feel, you know, secure, right? That inner security, and to embody that, and even to align those feelings with your mind, right? Again, it goes back to how you talk to yourself, those words of encouragement, self-love, right? That's going to be very remarkable, I think. And again, there could be a big shedding on your part, a letting go, if you will. Letting go of an old narrative, an old way of thinking, for instance. Now, on the 9th of June, Mars will enter Taurus. So Mars will transit your 11th house. So Mars is coming along and following the path of all of that Taurus energy that we've, been experiencing. And it's saying, okay, now it's time to move with intention. Now it's time to maybe initiate here within the group, within the club. Now it's time to let people know within your organization what your values are and what you expect here. Such a good way to mature further, I think. Now there will be the square to Pluto retrograde, so there could be some power dynamics there, perhaps related to intimacy, or possibly it could be some forms of jealousy or hidden emotions that could try and self-sabotage, and this doesn't necessarily have to be jealousy on your part, but it could be from others. But if you can even pick up on that or sense that, that's going to be a big, big no for you. But yeah, I think at the same time, it could be a good opportunity for you to transform through those experiences, right? Transforming when it comes to any repressed emotions, for example, or being able to channel your emotions in healthy ways. And then we come into the 4th week here. We've got Venus and Mercury in Cancer. Your sign. Oh, yes. So by the 17th of June, we have these two planets entering your sign all before your season begins. So, what we see here is greater desire, pleasure, sensuality, being very attractive, drawing people to you through perhaps via your voice, perhaps via what you educate people on. It's fascinating to think that there's the Venus Cassimi, and then there's the conjunction happening on the same day for everyone, of course, but for you, Cancer, it's going to be in your 12th house. And then just a matter, like a week later, basically, Venus and Mercury are going to enter your sign, and they're going to be the same degree, right? They're both going to be there at 0 degrees. So that's going to be very potent, right? So it's almost like there's that whole inward stuff, the cocoon stuff, and then you're coming into the 17th of June, and you're ready and you're willing to communicate, to share from a place of, hey, this is what I learned whenever I was in hiding there. Let me inform you. Let me tell you about everything that I've learned. And even just that respect for yourself, knowing your worth, and then how those things are going to be related to new priorities, new ways of seeing yourself, new ways of interacting with the world around you, new ways of just communicating, right? And even how those things will be tied to your aims and your goals. Oh, new beginnings there, Cancer. All right, so Leo next. Let's see. Let me just have a look at the chat. Hello, everyone. Welcome. Hello, Jasmina. Hi. Welcome. Yes, Gemini season. Oh, it's so exciting for you. Hello to Katie. Welcome to you. Hello to Anna. Okay, so yeah, we've got Fatma and Anna. You were saying about having Cancer rising. So I hope that you find your horoscope to be interesting there. And I do apologize for taking a while to say hello to everyone. It's just I'm looking at the screen, and then yeah, I kind of take my time between both. But thank you for being here. Hi today. Welcome to you as well. Oh, Eddie, you said that your dog is a Gemini. I love it. Okay, so we're going to move on to Leo now. I just need some water. I feel so guilty because there's a little cat in the garden. I really want to go say hello to her, but I can't. Okay. Actually, I might just go say hello to the cat. I'll be right back. Don't worry, Leo, there'll be timestamps. I'm just saying hello to the cat. Okay, I'll be 2 seconds, please. Thank you. Okay, I'm back. I am back, everyone. Oh, I had to go say hello to the cat. Oh, this is so cute. Okay, so Leo, you're up next. Thank you for your patience. Okay, so let's see. Leo, all right. So for Gemini season, then we see how the sun is going to be shining its light on your 11th house. So there's going to be so much happening within networks and groups for you, Leo. Almost as if you're really going to be pushed outside of your comfort zone into big social events, social organizations, social groups. And you may want to be in the heart of it, actually, because the sun is your chart ruler. And you may find that this is where you're going to get so much of your joy and life force is being around like-minded people, being able to relate, being able to share ideas, to challenge each other's views and opinions, to maybe even be part of, major boards or major companies or just major groups that involve recognition and being seen, and even just exploring your expertise, right? Being able to really bring your levels of expertise to audiences. Public speaking could be a big part of this as well, Leo. Now, for the first 2 weeks of Gemini season, we see here that Jupiter and Venus are finishing up in your 10th house. So take a moment, to think about what has come up for you within your 10th house, right? Thinking about the consistency on your part with respect to your career, your profession, your public image, how much you have grown in terms of valuing yourself, valuing your skills, valuing your gifts, and how those things are presented to the public. And then we see here that Mercury will conjunct Uranus as well. So that conjunction could possibly welcome a new vision, a new motive, a new way of seeing things, and then having that inspiration, right? This spark to maybe want to try something new. And how those matters then, again, how they're related to your professional life. Now, we also noticed that Mars will conjunct Chiron in Aries. So that conjunction could be quite eye-opening in terms of self-beliefs,
right? This could be, for example, an action on your part that leads to a self-belief breakthrough, or a healing, a sort of new approach when it comes to healing. And how, by you being a leader, by you being a pioneer, how those things are going to assist you with your own healing journey. Even healing surrounding your beliefs, right? Your views of yourself, and even, thinking about how such matters are tied to opportunity and further growth, right? Where have you maybe been not growing so much because there are these deeply held beliefs that maybe say, I'm not enough, I don't know if I can do it, right? These possible fears. So perhaps Mars conjunct Chiron could be a good breakthrough. It could be a good way to sort of move through that energy, or it could be a good opportunity to overcome that challenge. Right, so we also notice that with Jupiter entering Gemini, there is a separate video about that. Jupiter will enter Gemini on the 25th of May for the next year. So yes, there will be a video there. Make sure to check that out for your horoscopes individually. And then by the third week, we have Mercury in Gemini conjunct Jupiter. So that, I believe, is going to usher in a new 12 to 14 month cycle to do with furthering yourself within groups. This to me is the type of energy that says you are going to go the extra mile. This to me says being around people where it almost feels like it's a dream. It just feels like a once in a lifetime opportunity. It can feel like that, right? It's almost like, am I here? Is this actually happening? A big pinch me moment, right? I mean, it could be you, for example, attending some sort of conference that you never thought possible. It could be a certain hope or vision that you have for your future and how that's related to speaking, right? Educating others, being a mentor, being a teacher in this way. So there could be those hopes and wishes. And then again, it's that feeling of, I can't believe this. This is even what I think of Jupiter. It's like, I can't believe this is happening, because the sort of opportunities and the possibilities with Jupiter can be so boundless, right? And so massive. Jupiter is that sort of energy that says you're not limited. You're actually not that limited. There are other ways here, but you just haven't seen them. So maybe this is a good way for you to recognize new opportunities and how those matters are, again, how they're tied to groups and communities and teams. So Venus will also conjunct the Sun. There will be that Venus Cassimi. So with the Venus Cassimi, there could be a renewal, some shedding, some release to do with how your worth connects in with the big possibilities that I previously mentioned. So it's almost as if the Venus Cassimi is coming along and it's saying, yes, Leo, you are worthy. Yes, Leo, people love you. Yes, Leo, people recognize you. They want to be around you. They find you fun. They find you social. Oh, it can be a really fun, sort of uplifting time this season for you, Leo, I think, with so much Gemini energy in the 11th house. Now, by the 9th of June, Mars will enter Taurus. So coming along here in the 10th house. So it's sort of saying, right, all of those lessons have come up to do with Jupiter in your 10th house. Now Mars is saying, right, you've learned such and such. Now it's time to initiate from a place of, this is what I've learned, and this is how I've grown, and this is how I've matured, and these are the steps that I'm going to gradually start to make then, right? Those actions that you're slowly, steadily going to make, maybe to create greater prosperity, greater fortune, greater wealth for yourself, to have a sustainable sort of income, or to feel more sustained and more sort of worthy in a way from within as well, to value yourself in this regard and how those things are related to your skills. Okay, so with the square to Pluto, I just want to say with this, right on first arrival, the Pluto retrograde energy, maybe try and not give into any petty sort of power struggles between you and others. Even if, if we think about how the seventh house can look at open enemies, competitors, stuff like this, people who oppose us. So if that sort of starts to play out, just try and be the bigger person. Try and not give into any power dynamics that can actually just leave you feeling depleted. It's almost like with Mars in the 10th, it's saying rise above, rise above. Okay, so we notice then coming into the fourth week, Venus and Mercury will enter Cancer from the 17th of June. So for the rest of Gemini season, Leo, hey, Cancer season, Cancer planets, they can be quite beautiful for you because it's a good way for you to do some resting, relaxation, okay? Tender love and care. Pamper yourself like the lion you are. Give yourself all of that affection, all of that love, Leo. Take some time for you. Take some time to recognize your gifts, your talents, your beauty, your worth, and protect your space, right? This can be so healing and revitalizing. Have a nice bath. Maybe it's too warm for a bath. Maybe so in that way, get to the pool. Do you swim? Do you love to be by the water? It could be a good opportunity for you to do those things, right? Water can be very healing and revitalizing for you coming toward the end of Gemini season. Okay, so moving on to Virgo. Right. Virgo. Okay, Virgo. So, Gemini season for you. Oh my goodness. Oh, a lot is happening. All right, so the sun is basically shining a light on your public persona, your online presence, your reputation, your social standing, basically how you are perceived, how you're recognized by the public at large is very much going to be activated. This is a theme when Gemini season happens for you. So then we want to think about how the other planets are going to play a role in all of this. So firstly, we're thinking about the first 2 weeks of Gemini season. We have Jupiter and Venus finishing up in Taurus. So I want you to try and reflect upon what lessons have come up for you whilst Jupiter has been in Taurus. So lessons to do with really being a consistent seeker of knowledge. You have been so hardworking and determined this past year to really want to learn and share your knowledge, right? So the ninth house is about, okay, it's time to further your understanding about knowledge, but to then also share that with the world, to teach it, to broadcast it, to publish it, and with Taurus, to possibly earn money from your knowledge, from your gifts and skills related to knowledge. The beautiful, beautiful thing about you, Virgo, is that you are the sign that can take an abstract subject and make it practical, make it simplified, to outline it in such a way where other people can understand it. It's being able to explain languages in layman's terms, systems, right? To break down systems in such a way where it's practical. So yeah, it makes sense. So take some time to be grateful, to be appreciative for these gifts of yours, for these skills of yours. And then Mercury will, of course, conjunct Uranus. So there could be, well, when we think about how Mercury is your chart ruler, there could be something pretty eye-opening, pretty stimulating, like mentally stimulating, a flash of insight, a new hit of inspiration, a spark, something freeing, right? Freeing yourself perhaps from a deeply held belief, possibly about worthiness and value. Often you do not see your worthiness and value, let's just say that. Virgo, so yes, this could be a big renewal there for you. And then we see here that Mars will conjunct Chiron in Aries. So we also see a big healing breakthrough, a psychological breakthrough. Perhaps such breakthroughs are due to how you channel your anger specifically, perhaps, or maybe it's about an action on your part, right? An investigative action, perhaps a taboo, somewhat taboo action, but it's having that brave attitude, to be brave in your approach, and how by you being brave, perhaps you open up the dialogue, you open up the space for other people to be brave, right? It's almost like your vulnerability helps other people be vulnerable, and that within itself is so deeply healing. We noticed that with you, Virgo, actually, with having Aries in the 8th house, the transformations that you go through when it comes to your own vulnerability. Now, Jupiter will, of course, enter Gemini as well, so there is a separate video about that, so you can check that out. Now, coming into the 3rd week of Gemini season, we have Mercury in Gemini conjunct Jupiter. So there is a new cycle being ushered in then, this 12th to 14th month cycle being ushered in. To do with what? To do with your professional life, to do with how the public see you, your persona. Maybe it's related to teaching, informing, sharing, okay? Sharing your gifts of knowledge and truth with the world, being even quite versatile, being quite creative as well. And with the Venus Cassimi, there is a renewal to do with your heart's desire, right? How your heart's desire is tied to what you do professionally, right? There's just something here about, hey, you love, right? There's something about what you love intellectually, what you love on an educational basis, and going with that and feeling inspired at the same time, and knowing your worth, knowing as well, even not just what you're worth internally, but also externally, right? Being compensated for what you do. So much is going to change, and there's going to be a lot of eyes on you, Virgo, with that Jupiter energy in the 10th. Indeed, your public presence is going to expand. Now, on the 9th of June, Mars will enter Taurus. So this will be a good way for you to methodically and thoroughly move based on the lessons that Jupiter in Taurus taught you. So certainly another opportunity to be patient, to be gradual, right? To make those steady, gradual changes, but doing so in this mindful, intentional way, and then thinking about how those things are tied to knowledge, further truth seeking, further sharing, broadcasting, publishing, advanced training, possibly, right? Some type of new training program that you want to embark on, and just having this longevity, consistency view. Now, Mars will make that square to Pluto retrograde. So just be cautious, be cautious of your health, be mindful of your health. Where are you maybe overdoing it? Do you feel fatigue, right? Maybe that's a good opportunity for you to do a little bit of improvement, right? To refine things in such a way where you're not overworking yourself so much. Now, coming into the 4th week of Gemini season, Venus and Mercury will enter Cancer. So from the 17th of June for the rest of Gemini season, we've got your chart ruler in Cancer in the 11th, and we've also got Venus. Oh my gosh, this energy could be very popular, very loving and affectionate, right? Just even feeling really secure and safe within your friendship circles, even having these greater desires to want to meet new people. Or actually, this could happen, right? We think about how Venus and Mercury will be at 0 degrees on the 17th of June. So there could be something quite potent right here about, okay, a new social circle situation being ushered in, just meeting new people. And at the same time, having this sort of, okay, I'm gonna move slowly into this. It's not about rushing. It's just sort of, okay, how do I feel? What are the vibes? What am I picking up on? Could even just be, right, something quite new about how your current relationships are, right? Your current friendships. But then again, this could also be related to that of your emotional sort of needs, right? Your emotional needs and how those are linked to networks and organizations and companies that you are a part of as well. Okay, so Libra. Where are we, Libra? All right. Libra. All right. So what we notice for you is that during Gemini season, a big light is shining on your 9th house, Libra. So Gemini season for you is certainly a time of greater knowledge, understanding, and possibly traveling, possibly taking on advanced training courses, maybe even establishing or developing a new worldview. But such matters come because of a conversation, because of just that small talk, that sort of chit chat. So via meeting new people, basically. Now, for the first 2 weeks of Gemini season, we notice that Venus and Jupiter are finishing up in Taurus. So they're finishing up in your 8th house. So Libra, it's a good opportunity to maybe reflect upon, right, what has happened, right? What has happened over the past year with respect to sharing, exchanging, managing other people's resources, managing other people's finances, debts, loans, right? I think for you, you've had to really come to terms with your own personal worth within it all. So yes, reflect, go over those lessons, and even the reflecting to do with your psyche, those psychological matters. Perhaps exploring any blockages, psychological blockages, and maybe thinking about how those psychological blockages are tied to feelings of maybe jealousy or possessiveness, possible resentment, these types of things. But I think, if anything, Jupiter has really taught you a lot about how to come to a place of being inspired and overcoming, and just, more of those psychological lessons which have been very healing for you. Now, Mercury in Taurus will conjunct Uranus, so there could be this exuberating energy, this, so much has come up and now I'm ready to move forward with a new financial prospect or opportunity, and maybe even seeing how you have transformed in terms of your self-worth, feelings of worthiness. And there could be a great renewal there on your part, feeling more inspired, more uplifted, this freeing type of energy, this mental freedom, if you will. And then we see here that Mars will conjunct Chiron in Aries, right? So there will be that in your 7th house. So there could be some type of action that happens within your relationships or your partnerships, and how that action leads to greater healing and possibly greater vulnerability. So there's that. Perhaps even such matters are linked to business, certain business contracts, deals, this type of stuff. But I think a lot of it has to do with you making that first move, or hey, you know what, because the 7th house is the house of the other, it could be that a partner or somebody else comes to you, and then that is inspirational for you then to maybe move yourself, to initiate as well. Okay, so Jupiter will of course enter Gemini too, so there is a video all about that on the channel, so do feel free to check out that video. And coming into the 3rd week, we have Mercury in Gemini conjunct Jupiter, so ushering in a new 12 to 14th month cycle to do with higher learning. Oh my gosh, I just see this as many of you Libras enhancing, right? It's almost like you're going to take things to the next level, right? Taking things to the next level within a teaching position, a mentorship position, coaching, thinking about the broadcasting, publishing, media, networking, advertising, journalism, all these certain areas here. Yeah, there's just a progression, a stepping up, an improvement, I think, up ahead. Maybe even being connected to all the right people, right? The social networks enhancing and growing there. And then the Venus Cassimi is further going to indicate a renewal, a release point, right? The shedding to do with worthiness, to do with finances, to do with your relationships. And again, it's how these matters are linked to that of the higher education stuff, the further training stuff, possibly travel, right? Traveling, expanding your horizons, wanting to learn more, wanting to explore the world, getting outside of your comfort zone, Libra, perhaps intellectually. Now, by the 9th of June, Mars will enter Taurus. So we see here that with Mars entering your 8th house, that will be a good way for you to really show determination and dedication in the face of loss, debt, loans, repayments, intimacy, right? You're going to be asked to be brave, or perhaps you will need to be brave for others, right? So for others who may need your support, right? Maybe greater sharing is coming up here, right? Sharing from a place of intention as well. And at the same time, Mars will make that square to Pluto. So there could be some power dynamics to do with children, right? Maybe this is thinking about how you and your partner parent. There could be some friction there, right? Different views. Or there could be some tensions and conflicts to do with play and time off and fun, this type of stuff, some sort of power struggles there. So yeah, maybe there could be just some of that tension, but there could also be the ability to transform and to rise above and to feel greater empowerment. Yeah, to transform through the experience. And then coming into the 4th week of Gemini season, we see that Venus, which is your chart ruler, Venus and Mercury will enter your 10th house. So what's up ahead for you is just a lot of professional growth, career growth. Oh my gosh, you can be very tenacious when it comes to your career, Libra. It's like, I'm dedicated here. I'm determined here. I'm going to protect my reputation. Maybe that's going to be a big theme. It's like, no, I'm going to protect my reputation. I know my worth when it comes to my public presence, how I show up in front of the public. I provide great services. I am dedicated, and I know my worth, right? I know my worth. I know my areas of expertise. Just, yeah, professionalism, I think, is going to be a big focus for you coming toward the end of Gemini season and then into Cancer season, which we will talk more of next season. All right, so we're going to move on to Scorpio next. I'm just turning on the light. Okay, so Scorpio. Thank you so much for being here, everyone. Why is that not changing over? There we go. Scorpio. Okay. All right, so Scorpio. So Gemini season for you, Scorpio. There is a light shining on your unconscious, the psyche, right? Thinking about your hidden self, your shadow, how your shadow perhaps relates to, well, your intelligence, how you communicate. I think what you strongly dislike, Scorpio, is being misunderstood. It's whenever your words are sort of used against you or used as a way to, it's like that, to weaponize. You really do not like it when people use information against you, or whenever they share your private thoughts, your vulnerabilities, weaknesses, stuff like this. If you can sense that from other people, it's a big, big red flag. It's a big no. So anyway, the sun will sort of, I think, activate a lot of this, possibly, activating some sort of fears to do with communication, possibly fears to do with learning, fears even to do with siblings and neighbors, perhaps. So yeah, there could be some things that come up to the surface. But of course, with this being the 8th house is your domain, Scorpio, this is a good opportunity for growth and transformation. All right, so there is that. Now, for the first 2 weeks of Gemini season, we want to think about how both Venus and Jupiter are in the 7th house, and they're finishing up in your 7th house. So this could be a really, really good opportunity for you, Scorpio, to just reflect, right? To reflect upon the lessons that have come up related to partnerships. And I think a lot of this is to do with valuable partnerships. Jupiter in Taurus has been a good opportunity for you to really go over, right, who do I want to work with? What traits and qualities do I value in other people? But also, how do I complement others? How do we work together? How can we share this space together? So I think those business partners have been a big theme for you. But then it's also about that slow and gradual sort of steady process to do with greater relationship commitment. Knowing, who is truthful, who is honest, who is loyal, this type of stuff. Perhaps, for some of you, Scorpio, you've really taken things to the next level with partners, right? I mean, it could be over the past year. Many of you have gotten married, engaged. You've really committed yourself to another. Your attitudes toward partnership perhaps have really changed as well, or they have solidified. So yes, take your time to go over those lessons, basically, Scorpio. Now, Mercury will also conjunct Uranus. So thinking about these first 2 weeks of Gemini season, So that could be a good opportunity for you to even add that logic and that reason to those lessons that you've been learning, or that you will learn coming into Gemini season, and to even go over practical strategies, further practical approaches, and even having these intellectual breakthroughs and these epiphanies, these flashes of insight related to such matters. And now we also have here Mars. Of course, Mars is one of your chart rulers. Mars will conjunct Chiron in Aries. First 2 weeks of Gemini season. So you've really stepped up at work, Scorpio. But here's the thing about it too. You've been on shaky grounds, I think. I think there has been a big focus on leadership. But there has also been a lot of question marks, right? Sort of fears or maybe misunderstandings, not really sure about who you're working with or the co-worker relationships, colleagues, stuff like this. That's what I mean by shaky grounds as well. And maybe as well, what then this Mars conjunction to Chiron can indicate is an action that perhaps you take that could be really quite beneficial for the team or for your coworkers, for your colleagues, or there could be some type of action from your colleagues' part, and that could be very healing or eye-opening for you. So maybe even just watch carefully, closely what comes up, in terms of your behaviors and your coworkers' behaviors and how such things may be accidental. It could be some sort of accident, an emergency, right, with Mars. But yeah, there could be something that happens or occurs that could lead to some type of healing process, or maybe a trigger. There could be a trigger that happens, which do be mindful of if that does occur. Perhaps that trigger is even related to your health. Maybe for many Scorpios, you're really having to think about your health a great deal. Perhaps you've been complaining about your health, complaining about your body, complaining about how it moves, how it functions. So maybe, hey, Mars conjunct Chiron could be that push that you need, right? That wake up call, perhaps. And it's saying, hey, I'm warning you, look after your body, look after your health. Okay, so Jupiter will enter Gemini on the 25th of May for the next year. So there is a video about that. There's a separate video, which you can be sure to check out. And then by the third week of Gemini season, we have here Mercury in Gemini conjunct Jupiter, ushering in a new 12 to 14 month cycle within your 8th house. So a lot will start to unravel and unfold to do with debts, repayments. Maybe it is that you're repaying some type of loan. So this could be a good opportunity for you to pay off a good sum of that loan, right? There's that big amount, or there could be some inheritance that comes in that can maybe assist you or support you financially. Hey, it could even be that your partner, your significant other, comes into some money, or there could be significant changes and shifts here to do with money, and then that may create greater security and ease for the both of you. Or it could be that you really step it up in terms of mentoring, in terms of teaching and sharing, right? Sharing occult-like subjects, sharing paranormal-like subjects, doing greater research and investigating, and how those matters are going to start to really grow and unfold and just enhance, right? There could be some type of even a recognition or a victory perhaps on your part. Could also be more of a psychological thing, right? So more so making sense of why you do the things you do, right? There could be a big psychological journey that you go on, which could be challenging. I must say that could be quite a daunting thing, to be confronted by fears, or to be confronted by parts of yourself that you might not want to look at. Still, I do see this as greater mental transformation, right? These mental transformations, these intellectual transformations that you will go through. And at the same time, the Venus Cassimi will happen. The Venus Cassimi, I think, could be a good opportunity for you to shed just what is no longer serving you within intimate relationships. It could be a very an intimate process. Maybe something about intimacy really triggers you, or it makes you want to make certain changes. Or perhaps this is about getting in tune with your desires, like your deepest desires and your pleasures as well. Oh, it could be quite a quite a sensual, asexual time for many Scorpios this Gemini season. But I think it comes via communication, right? Having those discussions perhaps with your significant other, if it is that you're in a relationship, or it's just being honest about what you like, right? And not judging that, not ridiculing that, not judging that. It really does come down to, okay, well, what do I like? What turns me on? What are my deepest desires in this way? Now, by the 9th of June, Mars will enter Taurus and will transit your 7th house. So that will be a good opportunity for you to perhaps set things in motion, right? So you've done a lot of that, the contemplation, right? Okay, who do I want to work with? What's the financial situation with them? Who do I value, right? And then Mars will come along, and that'll be a good opportunity for you to steadily sort of act and to initiate from a place of intention to build upon those lessons. Maybe even starting a new coworker or business partner relationship. Yes, to start a new business relationship, or to just try a new approach, try a new strategy that could perhaps be more prosperous and more fortunate in the long run. It could also be, a new approach when it comes to your significant other, when it comes to committed relationships there. But again, I think a lot of it then comes down to prosperity and feeling secure, feeling good. Now, there will also be the square to Pluto retrograde on first arrival. So with Mars making that square to Pluto, I can't help but think that the relationship stuff, right? You think about how the 7th house is it's a house of mirroring, right? And it's a house of projection. So there could be certain projections that come up, maybe projections to do with security, sensuality, commitment, and how those things then may be connected to your family conditioning, to how you were raised, right? So there could be like an emotional reaction that comes up from within you, and maybe that is linked to how you were nurtured as a child. So some really deeply psychological stuff happening on your part. So do just be mindful, be mindful of that. But there's also that opportunity to grow, right? To grow, to learn, to overcome, to maybe even look at that overcoming process, that learning process, as a way to establish a greater bond, right? To establish a greater bond with your significant other, for instance. Okay, so by the 4th week of Gemini season, Venus and Mercury will enter Cancer. So they're going to enter your 9th house. So coming out toward the end of the season, I think for you, Scorpio, you're going to be at this point where you want to spend time with your family, with your loved ones, experiencing life. I think you appreciate this a lot, actually, Scorpio, to have Cancer in the 9th. You love to travel with your loved ones. You would rather travel with your family and your people. So the people who are within your safe circle, right? Those people that are your ride or die, those people that you love so much, you would rather travel with them. And there's that safety, there's that security. So there could be some type of, a travel experience up ahead that is really very nurturing, and it's caring, and it's supportive. Or perhaps there's this love for knowledge and research, and just
wanting to learn more, I think, maybe even taking on, a new program, right? A new lesson, expanding your worldview in this way. But all of this stuff goes back to your security, your family, perhaps providing for your loved ones. I think a lot of your higher meaning in this life, Scorpio, is so much about having that safe space, to have that safe space with those that you trust the most. Okay, so Sagittarius next. Let's see. Okay. All right, so Sagittarius. So Gemini season for you, Sagittarius. The light is shining opposite you. It is in the opposite sign, the opposite house. So what does this suggest? Well, it suggests that there's certainly a lot happening when it comes to other people. There's so much to learn from others this season. There's so much to gain. There's so much to share. There's the exchange, a very social time perhaps for you, Sagittarius. Let's even think about how Jupiter, your chart ruler, is going to be entering Gemini. So it will be in the 7th house. So you may find that you're going to draw a lot of inspiration from other people, or that other people are going to come to you. This could be great for business, right? More clients, more customers, more people coming to you for your knowledge, for your wisdom, all this stuff. Great for marketing, great for advertising. Yeah, your name could very well be out there within client relationships, right? So word of mouth, recommendations. It's like, oh, did you hear about this person? They're doing this. And yeah, it all gets sort of passed around. So this could be quite exciting, I must say. It could be quite exciting. Now, we also want to take this a step back, and we want to think about what Jupiter in Taurus has taught you. Because Jupiter and Venus will be at 29 degrees in Taurus. So this is the first 2 weeks of Gemini season, basically. And it's sort of giving you an opportunity for you to do a bit of a review, right? It's an opportunity for you to reflect and think about, oh, well, what have I learned in terms of my health, in terms of my routines? And here's the thing. I think Jupiter in Taurus has been amazing to help you realize that you're not a superhero. Stay with me. With you being Jupiter ruled, you may think, and I think this may be something that you can relate to, Sagittarius, but you may think that you're boundless, right? That what you can do in this life, it's endless. You can do everything. You can do anything, everything. And oftentimes, whilst there is, of course, a lot of inspiration in this, and you can follow your dreams, and you remind us that, if I can do it, you can do it. It's that type of, come on. But I think you also come to learn that you're also human. Think about it. Your symbol is the centaur. So there is this half mythological side to you, which is very much tied to, it's more tied to the esoteric. It's more about the spiritual. But there's also a very human side to you, which is rooted in reality, which is more about you're in the here and now. So you often battle with these parts of yourself, right? The part of you that can give into your wild, sort of instinctive, animalistic sides, right? But you can also give into the super, super spiritual sides, but maybe losing yourself in that, or not being grounded enough in that. So I bring this up because we're noticing how with Jupiter in the 6th house, perhaps over the past year, you've overworked yourself, you've been overly ambitious, you've maybe tried to overextend for coworkers, overextending when it comes to time management. There's been a lack of structure, taking things too far, biting off more than you can chew. But here's the thing, I think that as Jupiter starts to come toward the end of Taurus, coming into Gemini season, of course, you being the way you are, right? You're very much about, okay, well, this is what I've learned. You may recognize these things and you may be able to go, oh, okay, this is what I've learned. I can see that. This is how I'm going to improve. This is how I'm going to change moving forward. I can see that when it comes to my stress levels, they go up and up and up because I'm overextending myself. I'm overextending myself when it comes to exercise, diet, work, all these everyday things, basically the daily routine stuff, the rituals. It's like maybe you're being you have been a little bit too over ambitious in this way. So it's almost like you're coming to this point of, oh, right, how can I learn from all of this? What can I take away from this? And how can I improve moving forward? Now, Mercury will also conjunct Uranus, so that could be quite an eye-opening thing, right? Epiphanies, flashes of insight, those aha moments, maybe just finding your flow, finding your groove when it comes to the day-to-day stuff. Then we also notice that Mars will conjunct Chiron in your 5th house. So that conjunction perhaps could point toward inner child healing, possible wounds related to the inner child, and how maybe a certain action from a child that you have, or an action on your part, maybe it's related to play, fun, spontaneity, how such matters then trigger this wound. But then that also gives you space, that gives you an opportunity to heal, to address the wound, to move through it, to learn from it, to grow. Now, Jupiter will also enter Gemini from the 25th of May for the next year. So that will certainly be a good time, to look at the video, watch that video. It is up on the channel. You can find more information about that transit. And then by the 3rd week of Gemini season, we've got Mercury in Gemini conjunct Jupiter, ushering in a new 12 to 14 month cycle within your 7th house, Sagittarius. Oh, so certainly we're going to notice for you these major client upgrades, your name on many people's radar. Your name is on that list. You're being invited to the parties. You're being invited to the events. People want to know you. People want to get curious about you. People want to get close to you. So there's a lot of room for engagement, for chatting, for socializing, networking, great for business deals, great for certain contracts and agreements to occur. So plenty of opportunities. The only issue, I suppose, is it's sort of what I've been trying to say. Well, I was talking about it at the beginning during the astrology overview. The only issue about it is, which are you picking? Who are you choosing? Who do you want to be on your team? Because this is the thing about Jupiter and Gemini. It's going to be about choice. Do I choose A? Do I choose B? Do I choose C? Which option? What works? So there could be some room for, okay, it's time to contemplate, it's time to think about that. Ask questions, get inquisitive. Try to maybe figure out how you can manage things in such a way where you're not overextending yourself as much. Wherever Jupiter is, we can overdo it in this way. So Sagittarius, you could overdo it when it comes to clients and stuff like that. So just be mindful of that.
Now, Venus and the Sun will conjunct, so there would be the Venus Cassimi in your 7th house as well. Oh, great for relationships. Beautiful. A good opportunity to shed, to go through a renewal, a sort of release with respect to relationships. Now, with the same token, it could also be the ending of a relationship, right? With the 7th house, it shows us how relationships begin, but also how they end. It's a house of marriage, but it's also a house of divorce. So, of course, I'm not just going to say, oh, you're definitely going to get married, or oh, you're definitely going to get divorced. But just keep in mind those different possibilities, I suppose you could say, when it comes to the 7th house, the entire chart, always. But yeah, there could be some significant shifts up ahead when it comes to relationships, a certain letting go, if you will. Now, Mars will enter Taurus on the 9th of June, so this will happen in your 6th house. So that will be a good opportunity for you too, okay? Those lessons that you have learned recently, right, to do with Jupiter in the 6th house, which we just previously talked about, then it's time to move forward. Then it's time to maybe even just go slowly, move gradually, build upon your changes that you're making, think about time management, think more steadily about stress levels, feelings of contentment. Just move slow and think about your health. Now, Mars will also make that square to Pluto retrograde in the 3rd house, so do not let the inner demons win, Sagittarius. Don't let those pesky little thoughts tell you that you're not good enough or take you under or create this rage within you. Don't give in to any obsessive sort of fixations there with Pluto in the 3rd house. Try and utilize this energy as a way to dig deeper into subjects, for example, to learn more, for example. And then by the 4th week of Gemini season, we have Venus and Mercury in Cancer. So those planets are going to enter your 8th house. So from the 17th of June for the rest of Gemini season, well, it could be quite eye-opening for you in terms of intimacy. Maybe what's really going to come to light is that of you need to feel that bond, that intimate, that you need to feel that intimate bond with others. And I suppose in order to get there, it's like you need to feel safe. You need to feel safe, secure, emotionally secure. Your vulnerability needs to be protected. It needs to be respected as well, Sagittarius. You're actually very, very sensitive people. It's just you don't necessarily show outwardly just how sensitive you are. So I do think, coming toward the end of Gemini season, it's going to be quite a healing, transformative time when it comes to these areas. Okay, so Capricorn. The cat is back. The cat is back. Thank you for being here, everyone. Woo! We're now 2.5 hours in. We've got Capricorn, Aquarius, and Pisces, and then we will be done for Gemini season. I hope you have enjoyed, everyone. Right. So here we go. Capricorn. Right. So Gemini season for you, the light is shining on your 6th house. Oh, so yeah, a lot happening for you in terms of work, your everyday tasks, your everyday responsibilities. A lot going on there for you, Capricorn. You tend to be pretty good at just sort of figuring out, okay, how can I switch things up? How can I switch the environment up so I can be more productive, so I can be more efficient? You're always sort of being curious about new strategies and approaches when it comes to work, when it comes to how you approach your everyday, these types of things. Maybe as well, you're quite factual about your health and constantly looking into health matters and wanting to, inform yourself basically. So yes, Gemini season, it's suggesting that a big light is going to shine on these areas for you. Now, Venus and Jupiter are finishing up in your 5th house. So it's a good idea coming into Gemini season to reflect upon the lessons that Jupiter in Taurus has taught you, right? So lessons to do with your creativity, your passions, your interests, your heart's desire, following your heart's desire, following the things that bring you joy and happiness. It's almost like what's been coming up a lot for Capricorns is if you could do anything, right, and it's just out of pure happiness and joy, what would it be? What are the things that inspire you? What are the things that, creatively they make you feel good? And it's having that patience and being consistent with these things as well. Your time off has also been a big focus, right? Time off for you, time off to relax, to experience pleasure, and to enjoy yourself, basically. So yes, reflect on those lessons. Now, Mercury will also conjunct Uranus, so there could be some new sort of epiphanies, realizations, perhaps about children, perhaps related to your creativity and your hobbies as well. So major mental, intellectual breakthroughs there related to that change and that progress, a new way forward. Now, Mars will also conjunct Chiron there in Aries, so thinking about the first 2 weeks of Gemini season. So that could be a major trigger point in terms of being there to support family, to support loved ones. There could be some sort of emotional trigger within yourself. Maybe a certain action that a family member does could lead to a particular experience that has you releasing anger, has you letting go of anger, perhaps, right? Moving forward, even as well. And maybe such matters come because of you being brave or other family members being brave, but there's healing in that. So Jupiter, of course, will enter Gemini, so there is a video all about that, so do be sure to check out that video for more information about your horoscopes. But coming into the 3rd week here of Gemini season, we've got Mercury in Gemini conjunct Jupiter in Gemini, so ushering in a new 12 to 14 month cycle within your 6th house. It could be here that many Capricorns, you certainly do switch it up, right? You're switching it up when it comes to your routines, your schedules, time management, timekeeping. These areas, yes, changes intellectually so. And maybe as well, a good opportunity to meet new people, right? To meet, to mingle, to involve yourself in new conversations, being invited perhaps to work alongside other members, different members, right? To being introduced to new team leaders, key players, this type of stuff. So much will unravel then over the next year for you when it comes to these areas. And then Venus Cassimi will happen in your 6th house in Gemini. So there could be a shedding, a releasing, right? A renewal to do with self-worth and how that is tied to health, tied to looking after your body, your self-care, right? Your nutrition, how you just look after yourself in general, really valuing, your well-being in this way. Seeing, what cutbacks you would like to make so that you're feeling lighter, you're feeling more fun, you're experiencing just greater feelings of ease in this way, I think, for you. Okay, so when we look to Mars, Mars in Taurus, Mars will enter Taurus from the 9th of June. So Mars will follow that path throughout the 5th house. So all of the lessons been coming up to do with Jupiter and Taurus, related to your creativity, related to your passions and your interests and your hobbies. Mars then is sort of saying, okay, well, now how about you focus on those things, but gradually, methodically, slow it down a little bit, make gradual changes,
And there could be something quite pleasurable about this. There's the pleasure-seeking qualities, there's sensual feelings as well, perhaps even thinking about how sensuality is tied to that of romance and love. Just, yeah, I can't help but think that for many Capricorns, it will be a good opportunity for you to be mindful of spending time off, right? Spending time off to experience pleasure and sensual activities. Now, with the square to Pluto, all right, there is that square between Pluto retrograde and Mars coming into Mars entering Taurus. So there could be some friction and tension regarding your earnings, your livelihood, feeling like you need to protect something or protect yourself, possible feelings of jealousy or possessiveness. So try and not give in to any pettiness or power struggles, power plays there. Try and rise above in this way, Capricorn, especially if it is that, there are these fears, but those fears may not be necessarily rooted in reality. So yeah, I mean, just be cautious of unnecessary arguments and discord, basically, with respect to finances. And maybe those things are quite worrisome, actually. Try and maybe have a more reasonable discussion about your fears there, Capricorn. Now, the fourth week of Gemini season, we have Venus and Mercury entering Cancer. So from the 17th of June for the rest of Gemini season, these planets will be in your 7th house. Oh, Capricorn, settle into some relationship, love, goodness, juiciness. Just cozy up with your partner, cozy up with your loved ones, right? Show affection and accept the affection, Capricorn. Allow your loved ones to bring down your walls a little bit. Oh, Cancer says soften. Cancer season is actually going to be so beautiful for you to really soften, Capricorn. Oh, I love it. Whenever I think about this, I have so much Capricorn in my chart, and my partner has so much Cancer. And with his birthday coming up, when I think about how the sun will be in Cancer, it's almost like, okay, just give into some soft, gentle energy, Hannah. Let go. Let go. Enjoy the moment. But yes, Cancer. Capricorn. I feel as if that Cancerian energy could just welcome greater tenderness. Okay, so Aquarius. Aquarius. Let's do this. Okay, Aquarius. All right. Wow, we've got a stellium in the 5th house. So fun, play, enjoyment, trying not to take life so seriously. Sun in Gemini, of course, will shine a light then on that of entertainment, just being silly, being goofy, going out to fun events, parties, meeting new, interesting, and exciting people, wanting to learn about other people, inquiring about their interests and their desires and passions. Of course, you can be like this, Aquarius. You're continuously sort of wanting to know more about other people, what makes them tick, what makes them do the things they do. But certainly, Gemini season is going to add a big layer of fun and lightheartedness. Now, for the first 2 weeks of Gemini season, we have here Venus and Jupiter finishing up in Taurus. So I want you to think then about the lessons that have come up to do with family, home, stability, feeling pretty financially and emotionally stable and secure here. Maybe Jupiter in Taurus has been teaching you a lot about the importance of, hey, when it comes to the family stuff, you just got to be patient with it. When it comes to the living situation, housing stuff, You just got to be consistent. And it's all about those small wins. It's all about those small, gradual improvements that are occurring. Take some time to reflect. Take some time to even think about, what are you grateful for? What are you grateful for when it comes to your emotional security, and how you've attended to your emotional needs and security over this past year? Maybe you've done a lot of sort of inner work, right? You've really went within and you've thought about, how can I feel more content from within? How can I nurture my self-worth? These things have perhaps been huge for you this past year. Now, as Mercury then also makes a conjunction to Uranus, there could be even a big sort of awakening and enlightening moment, an aha moment. It's like, why did I not see that before? But such matters are tied to the lessons that you reflect upon, interestingly. So yeah, relate this information to that of family, home, and your physical and inner security. Okay, then we also have Mars conjunct Chiron as well in Aries. Oh, what healing breakthroughs and initiating time to do with communication healing, right? Thinking about potential wounds in terms of chit chat, in terms of using your voice. Yeah, speaking up. But the Mars conjunction to Chiron could be this activation point, this point of, oh, okay, I didn't realize that I would be triggered by that within this conversation. But oh, I've actually also really come so far. And I'm able to just challenge that, right? To challenge the inner voice, to challenge any fears of failure or fears of doubt, these types of things. Yeah, being brave, having the audacity to face these things, to be courageous in conversation as well. Okay, so Jupiter will enter Gemini, and there is a video all about that on the channel. I will link it down below after this live is over. Now we come into the third week of Gemini season. We've got Mercury in Gemini conjunct Jupiter. So ushering in a new 12 to 14 month cycle within your fifth house. This is the thing. I think a lot of Aquarians, you are connecting with the things that bring you joy and happiness whilst Jupiter is in Gemini. You're really connecting with fun and play and following your heart's desire, right? Following the things that you're genuinely passionate about and how those things are tied to your intellectual interests, your studies, investigating, researching, even thinking about games, right? Playing games, doing little quizzes, thinking about teaching. Yeah, possibly travel as well, traveling as a form of enjoyment, traveling for pleasure. Yes, it could be quite a fun and spontaneous time for many Aquarians. Then with Venus, right, the Venus Cassimi happening in your fifth house, that could be quite beautiful for you in terms of romance, love. What are you shedding? What are you releasing as a way to maybe feel closer with your romantic partner? Even if you're single, maybe this is about self-love. Maybe this is about, even if you're dating, there's something that you're releasing in terms of the dating scene. This could be, for example, if you notice that there's a certain conversation that just doesn't, it doesn't sit with you, it's like, oh, well, I'm going to learn from that. It's not really, that person isn't really for me. And it's even just about that, having that exploration, right? Being quite explorative and maybe even seeing how you do fit with others and their interests, just being open, even a bit of openness. Of course, this doesn't just have to be about dating and romance and love and these areas. This could also be related to just fun, right? Experiencing feelings of aliveness, just joy. And yeah, I can see this as many Aquarians just becoming a bit lighter. Taking the edge off somewhat, partying, going on a trip, having some time off, just enjoy the time, enjoy that time, Aquarius. But still, I think the Venus Cassimi, it's a shedding, right? It's a release point, it's a renewal point when it comes to forms of enjoyment and what you do for fun. Okay, so Mars is going to enter Taurus on the 9th of June. So we're going to see here how this planet is going to follow the path of all of those Taurus planets. So the lessons that you've learned to do with Jupiter and Taurus, Mars is going to come along and it's going to say, all right, so this is what you've learned, and now it is time to methodically and gradually sort of move forward. What are the little changes you can make? Maybe matters to do with investments, money, materials, this type of stuff, and how such matters are related to your living situation. Certain renovations could come up, or there's certain things around the house that you can see that you would like to change, or maybe this is even about your attitude, right? It's more of an inner it's like an inner part of you. It's more about your feelings of worthiness and feeling even greater security. It's that emotional security. And maybe such things are tied to knowing what you want, knowing what you really want to build, gradually build there in the world. So let's also think about the square to Pluto. Whenever Mars does first enter Taurus, there will be the square to Pluto retrograde in your first house. Oh, what's coming through here is if things do not go according to plan straight away, and I know this may be so frustrating because perhaps it has felt like this with all the Taurus energy. It's like, when's this going to end? When's this going to end? I'm still in the same situation, Nothing's changing. It can feel like that, right? There can be the stagnation. It's like, oh, right? But even with that square to Pluto, where it can feel like you just want to throw your hands up and go, I give up, I'm done with this. Just try and take it a step back. Remember the lessons that you've been learning about patience, and even remembering that this too shall pass. And maybe this too shall pass, it's more so tied to, right, okay, it could be an actual physical reason. It could be a physical, financial, very practical reason, but maybe it could also be an internal thing, right? It could be something related to your fears, something related to your own limitations, right? Your limiting views about the world and about yourself and about your progress. There could be just the frustrations that come up with Mars square Pluto, but that can also be a good opportunity for you to address those things. You can maybe even recognize, actually, I don't react the same way. I've changed. I've really grown, right? With Pluto retrograde, right? There's that inner analysis. And so you can rise above. So then lastly, we have the 4th week of Gemini season. We've got Venus and Mercury entering Cancer from the 17th of June. So for the end of Gemini season, we've got these planets in your 6th house. So I think this could be quite a supportive energy, in that you may recognize how emotionally supported you feel by your coworkers, your employees. Maybe this is also looking at your moods, focusing or paying attention to your moods and how your moods are really influenced by your work, by your energy, and your stress levels. Good opportunity for you to maybe do a few adjustments there, time management adjustments that maybe align with a healthier mood, with a healthier state of mind as well. And then possibly as well, thinking about your values, right? That your values and how such matters are tied to your work, right? And I think for you during that time, a lot of it will be about feeling supported, like feeling like, hey, what I'm doing here, it is recognized as a real good, helpful tool, as a way to maybe serve or to assist other people, to support other people. But it's receiving some type of recognition basically for the work that you do. Okay, so Pisces. Lastly, we've got Pisces. Okay. Pisces, Pisces, Pisces. I'm just going to take some water. You're the last sign, Pisces. Thank you for your patience, and thank you for being here, everyone. We're coming to the end. We're coming to the end. So Gemini season for Pisces. The sun is shining its light on your 4th house. So this is certainly a season, Pisces, where perhaps it's more about family times. It's more about creating memories with your loved ones. Or maybe it's looking at some type of change, right? Change of scenery, change of the environment, switching up how you do things within the home, the sequence in which you do things, maybe being a lot more chatty with your family, being a bit more engaging, or even just wanting to gain more information from your family and how that information can be really quite helpful or supportive for you. So yeah, there could be just a lot of activity happening within the home. That can, hey, with this energy, it could even be a little bit like, oh, because if you do want your alone time and then people are just constantly like needing you or wanting your attention, that may cause some sort of friction. So there is that. And Jupiter will, of course, enter Gemini as well from the 25th of May for the next year. So that also adds to what I'm saying, right? The overdoing it, the expansion of family matters and the conversations that unfold there. Still, hey, it could also be quite a joyous thing, fun, happy times. Could even be that more family members are added to your family situation, to your living situation, people moving in with you, for example, you moving in with other people. So there is that as a possibility. But I want you to think about how Venus and Jupiter are at 29 degrees. So we're thinking here about the first 2 weeks of Gemini season. With these planets being at the end of Taurus, think about what has happened over this past year within your 3rd house, right? Think knowledge and wisdom you have gained and how you wish to share that information in very practical ways. Think about the types of mentors you've learned from, the books that you've read, the research that you've done. Think about even how you have seen, right? You've physically, practically seen how the information you've been learning, how they show up, how it shows up within the material world, and how you've applied things in very practical ways, Pisces. So yes, that slowness, that steadiness has been a good way for you to embody the information you've been learning, to soak it in, right? You tend to do this, you absorb things. So Jupiter, of course, being your chart ruler, there has been that ability of you to absorb your environment, to absorb the knowledge that you've been learning, and to embody that in such a way where you can actually be that, right? You can walk the walk as well within your communities. And perhaps that is very much seen via how you show up. People can see that, right? They can clearly see that, how much you've grown. Now, Mercury, of course, will conjunct Uranus. So that Mercury conjunction to Uranus could be an enlightening moment. Maybe this could be something like you receiving some sort of feedback or a compliment or some information from somebody else. And that is enough to make you go, hey, oh my gosh, thanks. I didn't see it like that before. But now that you put it like that, I can recognize that about myself. And that's really awesome. It's an interesting one because, Pisces, you are the final sign, you're this transpersonal sign, and often you kind of need that kind of mirroring from other people to remind you, hey, I'm on the right path. Hey, thanks, thumbs up to you, because it's reminding me that I'm going along here and it's working. So yeah, there could be a big boost of encouragement from other people that support just you being reminded of your value, I suppose. Okay, so Mars will also conjunct Chiron and Aries, and that will happen in the 2nd house. So that conjunction, okay, we're still thinking about the first 2 weeks of Gemini season. That conjunction, it could be quite sort of triggering to you. Maybe there could be a certain thing that sets you off, and such matters are actually linked to your self-worth. It could be maybe some
someone being angry or someone being confrontational, or there could be a petty sort of reaction from someone. And maybe that's enough to make you go, oof. But perhaps it's also an opportunity for you to see that you have grown as an individual, that you are also coming to terms with your independence. It's interesting because, I was saying about being a transpersonal sign and, needing in a way that confirmation or maybe that affirmation from the world around you with the mirroring, right? But let's also remember that when it comes to the zodiac, there's a continuum. And so with Aries being in your second house, with the North Node transiting your second house, and eventually, you do evolve into Aries in this way, but I think you have been reminded of your independence. You've been reminded of your individuality, establishing an identity within your own right. And that actually, if there are situations where it feels a little bit uneasy or uncomfortable, I think Chiron and the North Node in Aries has been a good opportunity for you to really step up and to be able to stand up, right? Stand up for yourself, to protect yourself, to kind of go, no, enough is enough. So that conjunction could be like a trigger, a spark, but it could also be very motivational. It can really help you redirect yourself in a way where you can see, oh, I've grown. Now, Jupiter, of course, will enter Gemini. Now, I have made a video all about it, so be sure to check out that video for more information about your horoscopes. But coming into the third week of Gemini season, we see here that Mercury will conjunct Jupiter. So that will happen in your fourth house. So there is this new cycle being ushered in, this new 12 to 14th month cycle to do with all of this knowledge seeking, the seeker, right, to do with Jupiter, this seeking within your home, within your privacy. We notice as well a new cycle to do with family relationships, how you connect, even on a very superficial level, right? It doesn't have to be so serious, right? So there could even be some changes, some transitions to do with neighbors and close relatives. Something about relocating coming out possibly as well over the past year. Yeah. And we also noticed that the Venus Cassimi, right? So the Venus Cassimi is going to happen in your fourth house as well. Hi, you know what? There could be a release, a renewal to do with how you show up within family relationships and how valued you feel by your relatives, by your close loved ones. Maybe you feel the love, maybe you feel cherished, or maybe this is about you really giving that love and sharing that love with others. Or maybe this is so much about your own emotional security, your own emotional needs, to communicate what your emotional needs are as well, right? If it is that you're holding back, or if it is that maybe you're keeping to yourself, right? You can sometimes do this, Pisces. You can kind of keep a lot bottled up and to yourself. Maybe you don't want to burden other people with your worries or your fears or what have you, but maybe the Venus Cassimi could be a bit of a wake-up call, or a time to think about, hey, you know what, whenever I do share, whenever I do let people in, there are those people in my life to support me and to share that space of communication with me. Now, Mars will also enter Taurus on the 9th of June. That will then start to move through the third house for you. Interesting to think we go back to communication with the third house activation. So we think about how the lessons, you'll be contemplating, you'll be going over the lessons that you've learned from Jupiter in Taurus. Mars then comes along and it says, okay, right, you've grown. We see that. Now continue to be that brave warrior. Continue to be that brave, solid, stable person within those discussions, right? To hold that space, maybe even speaking in such a way where you're being really quite sensual or intentional, or you're slowly sort of taking people on a journey with your words. But yeah, there is that, perhaps there is that element of holding support, feeling supported in a conversation, maybe supported by neighbors, supported by close loved ones, by your siblings, by your cousins. Now, Mars will also score Pluto retrograde in the 12th, Oh, so hey, we're noticing psychological breakthroughs, spiritual breakthroughs, but we're also noticing the fears, right? The fears of letting people in, the fears of opening up, the spiritual fears as well. Dreams could very well be quite like confronting for you, especially, with you being the sign that you are, your dreams seem to be quite potent. So yeah, that square can maybe suggest like a dream that is so vivid that it reminds you of the fears that you still possess and the fears that you're still sort of working through. Maybe those fears, again, they're tied to communication. Okay, so lastly, coming into the 4th week of Gemini season, we have Venus and Mercury in Cancer in the 5th house for you. So this will be from the 17th of June for the rest of the season. Oh, Pisces, we love this for you. We love this energy, right? We love a bit of free time. We love a bit of you time, enjoying. Again, this is another indicator of being with loved ones, cherishing those moments, creating those memories, right? Big on the memories, I think, for you, Pisces. And following your heart, following your bliss, following those things that bring you joy and happiness. And I think a lot of what brings you joy and happiness is it's to be with those people that are really, really close to you, right? Of course, it could be family. It could be certain family members, but it could also be, friends who just, they feel like family. They are family. Maybe this is also about being by the water, going on some type of trip that's, close to the sea or close to a nice lake, or getting involved in water sports of some kind, right? Maybe even just doing some spare time activities where you are close to the water there, Pisces. So yes, more of this is going to, of course, unfold as we come into Cancer season. Rightio, everybody, that is everyone, all of your horoscopes. As I say, I am going to add Jupiter in Gemini link at the very end. And to remind you, if you would like to join the Patreon, a great way to support the channel, by the way, you can do so by going to patreon.com/hannahselsewhere. You can gain daily forecasts information there. And I want to say thank you so much to my patrons for all of your support. Thank you. And I just want to remind you, I have started a podcast, right? I've started one. It's a passion project at this point, but I really hope that you can give it a listen. I've talked about my astrology story so far. You can find it in the link below. You can go to Cosmic Check-In over on Spotify. I'm so excited about this podcast. You have no idea. I cannot wait. I feel like it's very Jupiter in Gemini coming up, right? That's going to transit my 10th house. A lot's going to be happening in my 10th house in Gemini. Podcasting, a dream. Anyway, so moving on, thank you all so much for being here. I appreciate your time. Thank you for listening. If you would like to book a reading with me, you can do so by going to hannahselsewhere.com. And of course, if you did enjoy this live stream, you can always buy me a coffee, but no pressure. Thank you so much, everybody. Happy Gemini season. Happy birthday to all of you Gemini out there. I hope you have the best season. Thank you for your time again. And hey, everyone, have a great weekend. And I will talk to you all later. Bye.